Hello, everyone, and welcome back to COD Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel, and this is Backlog Banter's retrospective series of the Call of Duty franchise, alongside my first playthrough of each of these games. And today, we're talking about 2011's Modern Warfare 3. Oh, boys, it's time. We're wrapping up the end of an era, the end of the original Modern Warfare trilogy, and I'm very happy to have, of course, my great co-host of COD Banter, Andrew Orozco of My Star Wars Show fame, and Sergeant Dan. Welcome, guys. Modern Warfare 3. I finished a couple days ago. I think I've got some interesting thoughts on this one, because as we kind of teased at the end of last episode, this might be where we become a little more contentious and dig in a little more on nitpicks and things we might find wrong with this game. But that's not me showing my hand. That's just me revealing what we talked about last time. Andrew, I want to start with you. For Modern Warfare 3, what do you think? High-level thoughts.
So Modern Warfare 3, when this came out, I think this was the beginning of the end for me. When I think of especially in my circle of friends and cousins, like I think this is the last one. We might have already started like kind of dipping out when this one came out. I enjoy it, but I don't think it's the strongest of the trilogy. I'll tell you that. The set pieces are amazing. I love the way the game opens up with the kind of a like we're like literally just starting where the last one ended with Soap kind of in triage trying to get him somewhere safe, rescued and whatnot. And then we have I love that opening where we're just on the ground level, and I think that was like the demo they showed the E3 the year before. I don't know,
it was that first level was Frost on the street
with the magnifier right on the M4 and like going through the streets of Wall Street, or I'm sorry, the streets of New York, heading to the Wall Street building and taking out that tower and all that. And I was like, oh yeah, like I remember this now, because this is the one I have like the least and I'm least cognitive because I don't remember a lot of the set pieces because I didn't. It's my least played one, and so going through all the stuff again, the starting off in the collapsed tunnel and infiltrating the sub, and like I'm like, oh, that's right. I was like, all these like Modern Warfare always does like the over the top dope ass like set pieces.
Yeah,
and just kind of going through it, I'm like, there is so little that I remember from this. I mean, like I know like the stages, like okay, we're in New York, this is what's going on, but like the in between kind of like minutia kind of stuff, like I don't remember like any of the major characters other than like Price, Soap, Makarov, Yuri. I remember Yuri because of like the whole we'll get into it later, but kind of like the callbacks to the previous, the callbacks to the previous games and stuff. But it's all right. I mean, at this point, we kind of just seen the same thing kind of done 3 times, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just the major set pieces. I remember when I was playing, I was like, when did this game come out? Because there's like a lot of stuff that reminded me, sort of like the sandstorm. There's like they live on when you're in Somalia, and there's like a sandstorm coming, and I'm like 2011. I'm like, this reminds me of Mission Impossible. Ghost Recon, Ghost Protocol. I'm sorry, Ghost Protocol. I'm like, what? I was like, when did that movie come out? I'm like, oh, also 2011. Like, like, okay, I wonder, like, it's a little too close to say like one copy of the other, but I'm like, this definitely feels like that era of like major like set pieces, kind of stuff like that. So, but I enjoyed it. Let's just say that I enjoyed it.
The long-winded way to say I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Sergeant Dan, what do you think about this game?
I think Andrew really hit the nail on the head for me. I enjoy the game a lot. I think this game, just the scale of everything you're doing is just massive. Like they are really trying to show this is World War III if World War III happened, in modern setting. I think it does a really good job at that. I think it kind of misses the mark with some character moments for me. I think they made some decisions that I thought were pretty cool, and then a few that I didn't really care for as much. But Andrew's definitely right. This is definitely a drop in like Call of Duty's popularity. No spoilers, but Black Ops 2 really shot it through the roof again, though. Black Ops 2 really, I think it was 2012, really brought it back. But this was definitely a down tilt for a lot of people. I knew a lot of people still playing the previous Call of Duty into this one coming out, which didn't really happen that often. But overall, I enjoy it. I like it maybe slightly more coming back than I did when I first played it, which is nice.
Yeah, always nice.
Yeah, but I don't think it's as strong as some of the other Call of Duties we played.
Yeah, so what I think is interesting about this game, and going through and watching some other YouTube retrospectives of this game, and I think learning about what people thought about it at the time, this game gets a lot of hate. People saying that it was where you were saying Call of Duty started falling off, started feeling samey, and I think that those criticisms are true, but I don't think they necessarily take away from the quality that I was able to find in this game. And I came out the other end very pleased with this game. I will agree. I think it is easily the weakest of the trilogy. I think the first two feel so fresh and are a lot more focused than this game. But what I do think that people miss a lot about the bombast that this game really ratchets up alongside Black Ops. That game also had a lot of explosions and crazy stuff going on. Is that this game being set in actual World War III, but in the canon of the storyline, actual World War III, it feels like the climax of a story that we've been leading to for over two games now. So having an entire game ostensibly that is back to back, wall to wall, it's monuments falling down and explosions and trains falling off tracks and all this crazy stuff, it's kind of, if you play the three of them, this is like the last act of a 3-act film. And I found that to be a way for me to contextualize this game in maybe its bombast not being my favorite aspect, because I love Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2 that are much more focused on characters and have much better character moments. But this game is the bombs. It's the explosions. It's the fights on the streets, and frankly, some of the most impressive, and technically, visually, and scope wise, set pieces that this entire series has seen. So I think that I'm not tainted by what the way that this game released and how people saw it as dropping the storylines and stuff like that, and feeling the iteration of just another Call of Duty. I think that if you place it into the context of the culmination of Modern Warfare trilogy, I think the game really, really succeeds well at that.
I do agree with that. I think Tucker's right. It does feel kind of conclusive, sort of like a
Sure.
victory
Yeah.
a victory lap
Exactly.
of the series, right? Because we do have like stuff tying back to all the way to like the first Modern Warfare, where we have the Yuri, right? We have like the he's there when the nuclear bomb goes off, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's there for what was it,
Zakayev.
the yeah, for the Ukraine, yeah, for the Pripyat, right, that mission and everything. He's kind of like retro, like kind of retrofitted into like little backdrops, kind of, right, like he's
Mm-hmm.
always been there, kind of thing, right?
Little, I that was just, it was a little too much for me. Like, it
Sure.
just that Yuri was there for like every single major event. It seems like it's just a little too much for me. It
Well,
was cool,
really,
but
it was just for us to see that Makarov was also there. Really, he was
Yeah.
someone kind of, or right there, second in command, right there, along with like Imran, but also the mentioning of like we bring back some characters, like namely for me, I as someone who really loved the all gillied ups mission, I love how they bring back McMillan as base
Yes.
plate. He's basically like
Yeah.
the guy, he's like the guy in the chair now. He's old. He's like kind of in the chair now, but kind of like, I like how Price brings up like, hey, like you owe me for like that mission. He's like, all right, every like we keep getting reminded how he's like public enemy number one for the Americans and the British and everything, but Price gets things done. So we're gonna we're gonna let it slide and give him some materials, give him some support and stuff, and let him wage his one-man war against Makarov while the rest of the world is handling its business, basically. So I like how we have just those little, it's kind of, yeah, Daniel's right, it's a little too much on the nose, but I kind of like it. It's like a complete package, as you can say.
Yeah, I mean, and it does ultimately, again, if we're placing it in the context of this being like the last act of this trilogy, these are the last act twists that most movies have. You're going through the first two parts of the movie and you get to the end, it's like, oh, actually, this guy was here the whole time and you didn't know this. So I think that's kind of fun. And I certainly didn't feel like it took anything away from those moments. It just kind of gave them a little bit of extra texture, and being able to see that bomb go off in the first game from a different angle, or like watch him like press the button and then boom, everything goes off. Like that adds another layer to these set pieces that were so cool in the first game and are now just have a little something extra to them. But I do think that unfortunately Yuri takes away a little bit from the game, because he's not a character. Like, he's a stand-in for a concept of that there is a guy that was at these things and now he's with you, or with Soap and Price, but he doesn't. I don't. He's not even. He's voiced maybe like twice, but barely at all. And because of that, it's a huge missed opportunity. I think that playing as Price in All Gillied Up, or learning a little bit about Soap as you play as him in the first game, it's a lot better. And having voiceless, bland protagonists in this game is a huge step back, in my opinion. I think that Frost is a cool name, Yuri's a cool in concept, but both of them are really lame characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they missed with not letting you play as Soap throughout the whole game. Yeah. I mean, if we want to get into any spoilers, I think the fake out of his death in the beginning to his death towards the end of the game, I think was kind of a misstep. Sure. They already tried to kill him, and then you're going to go ahead and kill him again. I feel like it kind of could have been someone else. I don't even necessarily need it to be Price dying, but like they could have did something else. I felt like his death it didn't mean as much. It probably would have meant way more in the beginning of the game. And I kind of wish like if Yuri was going to be there, he should have been like your teammate and you play as Soap the whole time. But just constantly seeing Soap it felt weird.
Yeah, I piggy off of that. I think Daniel's right, because when we had the first one, right, when he's like on the operating table when you're in India in the beginning of the game, and it's like okay, like we patched him up, and like Price says something about him, don't die again or something like that, and it's like okay, like knowing what happens and stuff. But then when it happens the second time, it's like crying wolf, where I'm like he'll be fine, like he'll he just fell a couple stories on the scaffolding, he'll be fine, he survived worse. And then when he's really dead, it's like like that's how they went out with him, like that kind of. I'm like, that's kind of a little anticlimactic, but all right.
No, it is anticlimactic. I think it's just the way the scene plays out, because he dies, and he dies on a just table. Like they found a table, they put his body on there, and then he's dead. And you have to move on after that. After this scene continues to play, you and Price have to run away as the building you're in is being attacked. And that kind of means that there's no moment to linger on a character that we've all enjoyed over the course of the game, especially his bond with Price. And I think that comes with pros and cons. I think the pro is that it makes Price's loss feel slightly more impactful, because he didn't even have really a chance to mourn the loss of his friend. And it's not until he finally kills Makarov at the end of the game that he's able to sit back and pull out his cigar and like reflect on everything that's happened, because it's been go since then. But also the con of that is that you don't get a cool scene where Soap dies and it feels big and emotional and impactful, because you're moving right on. And so I see what they're going for there, but I think there might have been a better middle ground where maybe he died in a more iconic location.
The explosion.
Or if he sacrificed himself in a more dramatic way.
Yeah.
They did it. They kind of should have did it in the explosion. He should have just like helped Yuri live, and then he died, and no one, that's it. Like it would have been a more bombastic way to get rid of him. Like you don't see him again. He's dead. Yeah. Right there.
No, that's absolutely true. And I think that the timing is weird, because that his death is quickly overridden by the mystery being unveiled of that Yuri was there the whole time, and Price is kind of mad, and he's like, what the heck, you were there the whole time, and all that stuff. And you're not thinking about the fact that McTavish just passed away and was killed in battle, and now you got to deal with Yuri, who's barely a character. So I think that's the problem, not his death, not the fact that he did die, not the fact that his death was moved on from too quickly, because as I said, I think that kind of feels like the motion of war, like you can't stop to linger. But the fact that we just have to move on so quickly to Yuri, it's like wash over that. It's like, oh, okay, maybe you could have paced that a little better.
Yeah, they do have like a very brief moment where, like, in between missions, right? We always get like that briefing in between missions where, like, Price does acknowledge his death, like briefly with Baseplate. He mentions it, like, oh, like we lost Soap, and he like it shows like the little the dog tag and everything, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, John, and like they kind of just they talk about it very briefly, but I think that's kind of like I guess that would be like the producer level kind of way to address what Tucker brought up, where it's like, oh yeah, like maybe we should just like mention something else about like a quick like 10-second kind of what's the word I'm looking for, not eulogy, there you go. It's kind of like okay, it's now we're gonna use that revenge motive to funnel the next set of action and stuff.
So about the plot here, the World War III plot, Makarov, the explosions, the falling down of all these cities, the attacks on all these cities. I think that is where this game is at its best, because while I feel like it's lacking in story, I think that is absolutely made up for in the scope, scale, and spectacle of these action set pieces, and the fact that we are finally in more iconic locations and like boots on the ground locations, to where, and of course there was a few of those in previous games, but largely here it's not generic jungle or Middle Eastern city. You're in Paris and Berlin or Hamburg and New York, and you're seeing these places that you've seen before in real life being taken over by other forces and bombed with gas and stuff like that, and that makes it feel really more impactful. Like, oh, this is something that could happen, and we can see this kind of destruction. Agree? Disagree about the iconic locations being destroyed?
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. I shouldn't say it was nice. It was cool to see the Eiffel Tower fall.
Yeah.
That was just a really cool set piece in the game. I think that this, like I said at the top of this, this set is the scale of everything you're doing is much larger than anything in any other Call of Duty.
Yes.
I don't know if any other Call of Duty game period has
Maybe.
kind of this type of scale in general. Like the scale of everything you're doing is just everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
Giant
Definitely.
buildings everywhere. Like it's really cool to see, and I think that definitely props up the game a lot. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you with the plot kind of just being whatever.
Yeah. Jumping off of what Daniel said about the scale of, yeah, obviously the scale's a lot bigger, right? It's basically World War III. I just wanted to mention just real quick how I absolutely love the, I don't know if Tucker was gonna get to this, but the mission when you're playing as the one-off Russian bodyguard, and you have like that Inception moment with the zero gravity.
Yeah. That's really
and kind of
cool.
just fumbling around. And I'm like, this is dope. Like, and I was like, when did Inception come out? Oh, the year before. Okay, so like all of these like set pieces and stuff, like they all kind of feeding off of that. I'm like the moments are the set pieces and the moments are really dope. It's just I guess the story feels so impersonal compared to the first two. That's just kind of
Sure.
but
Yeah, and I think that's tying back is because we don't have characters we really care about except for Price. I mean, he's really the only one that means anything over the course of the story or has character moments, because also half the game is played from the perspective of the American force of Frost and Grinch and Truck and Sandman. And they're just army guys. I mean, one of them is voiced by Idris Elba, which is cool. I think that's Truck. But I like Idris Elba, but I don't like Truck because he has no personality. He's just a guy who says orders and like yells things during battle. And I really wish that they'd been able to balance that other group of characters and make them feel not important, because they're obviously important. They're like saving the Russian president's daughter. They're doing like heroic things, but they're not. I don't care about them because they have no personality. You know, something I was thinking about is why this sticks out to me so much in especially Call of Duty games, is not having a character, a protagonist that I'm invested in the story of. It's because going through these crazy scenarios, you never feel the weight of all the ridiculousness unless it's impacting someone that you as a player through the game know about. You know their history, you know why they're here, you know their personality. And when you're just playing as another nameless soldier, there are literally thousands of nameless soldiers around you that are dying, that you're killing. And so it's just like, okay, I'm just another part of this, and why should I really care? But then when it comes to the scenes of Price and Soap dying and stuff like that, those are the moments where finally I'm like, finally some character, finally some good fucking food. And I think that is balanced out with the part of the story that I do think is really good, other than just the concept of World War III, is the vendetta that Price has against Makarov feels very personal, because Soap was killed, and because throughout the game he's just always hunting down Makarov. Like, next step, we gotta find him. We gotta go to this location, find a guy that can find a guy. Like, it feels like there's a lot of momentum there because he's just so laser focused on killing Makarov, and he does in a very gruesome way.
that's a lot how I think that goes further back, just because we recently having replayed Modern Warfare 2 and Warfare 3 in close proximity to each other.
Yeah.
Just the whole Prisoner 627 thing, right? I mean, that callback when he calls Makarov at the end,
Yes,
he's like,
exactly.
It's like Prisoner 627. And it's like, oh yeah, we rescue him from the gulag. And it's like, it's just from that point on, like like you don't have like it's not a big scale thing, but it's such a cool like personal character. Like it's like who like oh we had to rescue this person who Makarov hates more than most. It's like who is it? Because we just have like the title like Prisoner 67. And it's like who is that? And it's like oh it's Price. Like oh, okay, so like there's like history there. There's like like you said like that blood feud kind of between him and like how he's like laser focused. And then we kind of like you said you kind of lose that a little bit until Soap dies, and then it's like okay now it's like bloodlust mode again. It's like all right like I remember in the Discord when you're like so you said something about Makarov, like it was like an exclamation when you finished the game, I guess, or you're like fuck Makarov or something like that. And I was like oh, okay, Tucker got to that point where okay he got him.
I think your part of your problem is Tucker is a lot of the characters are not voiced.
Yeah.
When you're in first person, I think having a character not voiced, but you're playing third person, I think you could still get a little bit more. You're seeing the character and stuff, but you playing a first person shooter, you're just really seeing a gun and some hands and no voice.
I don't even know what Yuri looks like.
Yeah, I think they had one picture
looks like a
of
white
Yuri.
guy, so whatever.
Well, they do like one picture, then you see him get shot, but that's pretty much it. But I think they need more vocal, like a more vocal protagonist. Like
exactly.
We start to get attached to Soap. He does talk a little bit, but then he talks more the more you just see Soap.
Yes.
And then we get attached to him that way. But with Price, he talks the entire time through the entire trilogy. We're so attached to Price. So they just need to find a protagonist that, you know, just talk more in first person.
Absolutely. And I think that was made even clearer for me playing Black Ops last time, because Alex Mason is ostensibly one of the first protagonists in the series, playable protagonists, that is a character, and you're learning his story. And of course, you play as Price occasionally, and Soap is a character, but sort of retroactively through Modern Warfare 2. But this feels like a huge step back from Alex Mason, you know, not the greatest character ever, but a character with an interesting scenario and a history that you're learning about. And I don't even know Frost's real name. I don't even know what state he's from or whatever. So like
Wallcroft.
That kind of thing is disappointing, and I certainly hope that when I go through the rest of these games, even if it's just bare bones, like they have a voice, that you learn a little bit about them, that will really help me feel more grounded in these crazy scenarios. Because again, the crazy scenarios is where this game absolutely shines.
Yeah, there are ways to do it too. Like Halo has Cortana talking to him, so that he can talk back to Cortana. So it's just you get a little bit of dialogue there. So it's not just Chief just shooting people, right? Like there are ways to do it, to not have your protagonist just say nothing and just grunt when he gets shot or whatever.
Yeah. Any key moments that you want to pin in on, Daniel?
Ooh, Makarov's death. We're hinting at that. I want to get to his death.
Yeah.
That's probably the one moment. I think, Andrew talked about the plane. I love the plane sequence. That was really good. The rest of the mission, whatever. I think it's fine. Getting the Russian president to get kidnapped was important, and then seeing Makarov do it. But the plane was the best part of that mission. What other missions were cool?
I like the one where you're in the subway in Britain, and you get on the train, you're running alongside the train, you're shooting the guys in the train, and then you go just through like up the escalators and stuff like that. Like it definitely feels a lot different from the other ones, because while it's in an urban location, it's in a very contained urban location, and it allows for like some more. It allows for something to feel a little like actually scripted, because of course the entire thing is mostly scripted, but you're certainly more going down the hallways in this one, so that definitely broke it up a little bit.
I felt like they were trying to do that no Russian moment again with the family on vacation and everything.
David's
with
family
the
on vacation, yeah.
And then like they have like here's the the daughter playing. I'm like, oh, things about to happen. Like she's way too carefree for the setting. And then, of course, the van explodes and everything. I felt like they were trying to go for that like shock and awe kind of thing, and it just didn't have nowhere near the same effect as No Russian did.
Yeah.
And then Yuri also being present at the terminal, like trying to go after your characters or whatever, like during that No Russian mission. I was like, okay, all right.
He was everywhere.
He was there. He was just there the whole time. He's like the Agatha of the series. But
it's true.
But of course, I mentioned the airplane. How cool is that second part though? That part where like the airplane's like ripping apart, and you're still shooting, you're still like exchanging gunfire. As like you can see it open up, and then you see like the terrain like rushing past you, and it's like, such a cool moment. That's like my favorite one. I also just like the boarding the submarine when you're like in the underwater area,
Hmm.
and then like you just plant the C4, come up on board, and just like hijack it, flip, grab the key, turn the key, push, and then like launch the missiles. And then as you're going away on the Zodiac, the little raft, you just see the result of the missiles you launched just hitting all the Russian fleet. Like that's such a great way to open up the game. I
Just
love
that boat sequence was really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love going through the boat, going off like
Over
other
the
boats
yeah.
and stuff. Just
Yeah, that
insane.
actually it reminded me a lot of some of the shot sequences in the movie Pearl Harbor, which are like shot from like the perspective of people in the water and ships are falling down. Like there's that part where you're on the speedboat and the ship is like coming down, you barely make it underneath. It's like those are the kind of like scripted action set piece moments that I think this game that the Call of Duty becomes known for, starting with Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, and this game. And this is where I feel like they've really perfected it, because I think this is one of the most technically impressive games I've seen, especially for PS3 hardware. Like the amount of detail in the scope and scale of these set pieces is really, really impressive. And I think that people kind of overlook that when they're thinking about how this game didn't have as great of a multiplayer, or it took away some of the story ports that they loved in those first few games. Like watching a couple of these YouTube retrospectives, people give this game a lot of crap, but I think that history of the game and how it was positioned in the Call of Duty legacy allows people to sort of just wave away like, no, Sledgehammer did a great job with just like how crazy technically good this game is, and I was just really impressed by it.
I do want to say one thing kind of negative, and it is about the same mission. It's the opening. I did not like how the little like thing controlled the little like engine.
Oh, the underwater, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did not feel good to me. Like, I don't know if it was just me. I just
underwater levels in any game almost never feel good. So.
I just think it was how they wanted you to move the sticks. Like, it just didn't feel good to me. I don't know.
There's one other thing with sticks in this game that controls a lot better than a version of a previous game, which is the mortar controls. There's one segment where you're using mortars to like stop some cars that are coming towards you, and they are so much better than the mortar controls in 3 that it's not even funny. Of course, we haven't had a mortar since they've had a lot of time to polish that up, but I was like, finally, better mortar controls.
a lot of drone and vehicle sequences too.
Yeah.
Like when you're piloting the little when you're in that I don't remember, it's not like a favela, but like when you I forgot
that's in the sand mission, right? Or the
there's
mission
one where
comes.
you open up a box in a warehouse, and then as you pilot it when you're trying to get a price to
the
like
little
fall
tank.
back. Yeah, the little miniature tank.
Yeah.
It also like you do have the kind of, they try to do like the what do you call it, the AC-130 thing again,
Yeah.
but like with the white hot targets and everything. Like a lot of vehicle sequences that I think worked a little bit better, but did not have the same like emotional impact as like the previous ones.
Sure, yeah. And I think that's just because, and this I definitely see people's criticisms of, we've seen a lot of these things before.
Yeah.
There's not too many sequences in this game, of course, barring just like watching the Eiffel Tower fall down or a plane be ripped in half, that are like mechanically very different from what we've had before. So having 2 or 3 missions where you are set up in a plane, you have to shoot things on the ground, it's like, yeah, they're fun to break up the gameplay moment to moment, but this was done first 5 years earlier, and it hasn't been improved that much.
Yeah.
Well, any other thoughts before we get to ranking this game against the other Call of Duty games we've played so far?
I liked the sense of urgency in that second to last mission when you're in the diamond mine working your way towards the president and his daughter. I did feel like that, like some kind of pressure, was urgency about trying to get them. I mean, it's all scripted and stuff, but you do feel like oh shoot, like, well, okay, 2 things. So that I enjoyed that, but I also didn't like how like lackluster what like the ending was. How it's just kind of, okay, we're in peace talks, and it's like okay, like I guess the president,
that's a good point.
The president who dies before him is kind of like, hey, like we can have peace or war, and like we want our kids to have peace. And I'm just kind of like I feel that's way too simple, or too too much of a neat bow on things. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done differently, but it wouldn't have been that.
I think you needed to cut from Price lighting a cigar into like one more cutscene of like what we need to actually wrap the trilogy up.
Yeah. And,
or
and
have
I
like
think,
or have like evidence of like Makarov's like here like presented to the world court or kind of thing.
sure.
Like this is like what happened. Like you guys have been, rather than just being like tied up, it should have just been kind of like this is like the instigation of stuff that like led to this, and like that. I think that might have worked a little bit better, but
Yeah, I think that it just we not seeing like, anything is really what makes it feel lackluster. It's because I just would have loved to have seen like the world coming together at like to pick up the remains of all these cities that have been destroyed, and I don't know. You guys are right. I don't know how you would write this, but it certainly just like basically nothing is not the right answer. But so as it stands right now, we have our current BackCon Banter ranking going Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare, Black Ops, World at War, Call of Duty 2, 1, and 3. Sergeant Dan, where do you want to start the bidding for Modern Warfare 3 to go on this ranking?
I'm gonna start at number 4.
Below Black Ops and
Below
above
Black
World at War.
Ops and above World at War. Yeah.
Okay, and Andrew's nodding fervently in agreement. And, we thought that this was going to be our contentious episode, but yeah, no, that's exactly where I would put it.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, again, I still think that I might find this game maybe more impressive than Black Ops on a technical level, but I think Black Ops feels a little more unique. Obviously, first game in its own sub-series, having Alex Mason, having this story framed around that whole history and uncovering the dark secrets of the government, I think gives that game a unique edge. So I think that as an end to a trilogy, as sort of that last act, as I was saying, I might like this game slightly more, but I think that Black Ops is the better game. Yeah. So no contention here for me at number 4th place.
Yeah, I think Modern Warfare 3 has high highs. It has some really high highs, but it definitely has a lot of low lows in the game.
Yeah. Well, that was an easy ranking.
We might just be agreeing on everyone then. Maybe I was wrong.
I was really not sure where I wanted it. Like even as we like starting it up, I'm like, do I like this more than Black Ops? I'm like, I know for sure I'd like the first two better, but like, do I? Yeah. Like, and I was just like, and then when you went, the turning point was when Tucker started talking about how Alex Mason, and I'm like, oh yeah, like that whole all that twist, all that like that was a much better story, and like I have less gripes about Black Ops 1 than I do about Modern Warfare 3. So I'm like, okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah, I think the best thing coming out of this, and why I'm very glad we're doing this whole series, is I'm able to give my thoughts on this game sort of unfettered by its context. And I think that, people watching this, if you're a Call of Duty fan, if you have a deep, fervent hatred for Modern Warfare 3, maybe give it another shot, sort of divorced from that scenario that it came out in, and see the quality of scope, scale, and spectacle, and place it in your mind as, no, this is the culmination of these 3 games. And yeah, it's just go, 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 but it's go, go, go because it's World War III, and you've been setting up for the last 2 games. So from that regard, I think this game is quite good to great. I don't think it's remarkable like I would say Modern Warfare 1 and 2 are, but you know what? That's okay. They can't all be S-tier games.
Yeah, of course. We haven't really even mentioned, like, the game just feels good to play still. Absolutely. We didn't even talk about that. Like, it's just buttery smooth.
I remember now my gripe. The one gripe I had left over from Modern Warfare 2 was the way Modern Warfare 2 ends is you have that, when they put up the flares, like, to not bomb, like, the U.S. Capitol.
Yeah.
And, like, we kind of have, like, that, they have that little quick talk about how, like, they're going to go, like, burn Moscow. It's like, we never even saw Russia. Like we repelled them from New York, right? It's like, okay, we're going on the offense now, and we never see it. And I'm just kind of like, what? So that was the thing I was looking forward to when the game first came out, and like we never got to see Russia. We saw the Czech Republic, we saw Prague, we saw parts of Africa, we saw parts of Europe, but we never made it to Russia. So that was the one thing I didn't like.
Yep. Well, next up on the docket, I believe, is Black Ops 2, which means that we are continuing that Black Ops series, and who knows what I'll think of that one. I don't even know if that one's contentious or great or not. I don't spoil me. Who knows? I'll go in completely blind. But thank you very much for talking to me, guys. Any final thoughts? Are we going to talk about Black Ops 2 just a little bit? Or
do you want me to hint at anything? Or you want Andrew to hint at something? It's not like Andrew wanted to say something good.
Actually, Tucker, you and I are going to be in the same boat next time because I have never played Black Ops 2.
Oh, that's exciting.
I already bought it. It was on sale on Steam for $20. I have never played the game. This is the first COD that I actually like purposely skipped back when it came out. So I have nothing. I don't know.
Any hints for you, Daniel, as the only one who's played it here?
I have played it. I mean, it's been a long time. I don't remember a lot of it. I don't have a lot of hints. I don't want it because it's too spoilery.
Sure,
It's too spoilery.
fair,
It does
that's fair.
continue the story. That's all I'll say.
Right.
I'm
It,
excited
it,
for
it isn't like a different type of story with a name with different characters. It is the same story.
Sure. All right. Well, that's music to my ears, considering what I've been enjoying about these games. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching this review, and we will see you guys next time for Black Ops 2.